Even you're in. Oh.
I don't know.
Oh, just
Hello.
Welcome, welcome.
Welcome. Hi. 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 Tell me the letter. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's Destination Space Talk for February 11th. I'm Andres Martinez. I'm an engineer for NASA in Silicon Valley. And today we have another special guest. Remember, we only have one rule, okay, in these special talks. We have to keep our microphone muted, okay, so that we give the speaker our courtesy, we show our courtesy to the speaker and allow him to share all this incredible work that he does for NASA. Today, our special guest is Luis Velasco. He's a spacecraft mechanical design engineer at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. We all know it as JPL. And he's been there over 17 years. Mr. Luis Velasco will be sharing an overview of the mechanical design aspects of the Mars 2020, the 7 minutes of terror, the entry, the descent, and landing systems of the mission. Mr. Luis Velasco has participated in the detailed mechanical design of Mars 2020 and Europa Clipper missions, worked on the entry capsule aeroshell and new EDL, the entry, descent, and landing system technologies, for example, the cameras and the sensors of Mars 2020. Mars 20, and also on the, and he's currently working on the Mars sample retrieval lander, designing hardware for the new parachute. Everyone, let's give Mr. Luis Velasco a virtual welcome, and he is going to share with us what the incredible work that he does for NASA, okay? Mr. Luis Velasco, you may now start sharing your presentation. Thank you for joining us today. You're muted, sir. There you go.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And my presentation is being shown, correct?
Not yet.
Do I have to share again?
Yes, yes.
All right.
And remember to click on share sound also.
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
All right. Well, it was great to see all those faces before I switched to my presentation. I'm very happy to be here with you today. I was already introduced by a friend. Andres and I have met. I have visited his facility up in Silicon Valley, Ames, and we have worked on projects together. So I'm very glad to be here with you today. We're pretty much countdown to Mars landing. We're exactly a week from the landing of this mission. Exactly next week on Thursday, it's going to be at 12:50. So by the time that we're finishing this conversation, our spacecraft will be landing on Mars next Thursday, and we'll touch on that a little bit again later in this presentation. So I work for NASA, the same as Andres. NASA means National Aeronautics and Space Administration. You see the picture there of the former administrator. With a new president, now we have a person that is acting as an administrator. The previous one was, his name was Jim Breinstein. This one is name, let me see if I remember what his name is Steve Jurzik is acting as an administrator now. So we all work at NASA, but we work in different laboratories. So Andres is at Ames. You can see the map here towards and you can locate California. All of those are NASA centers. And as I said, Andres works at Ames, and I do work at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. You can see farther down, if you know where Los Angeles is in California, Pasadena is just north, a little bit north of Los Angeles. That's what I'm located. You can see here our campus is not as big as Ames, but we have approximately 6,000 people here. You see the picture there of the director of JPL. Okay, this is a little bit of what we do. I'm not going to touch on everything, but we do all the way from planetary robotic exploration, telecommunications, space technologies. We administer the Deep Space Network. I mean, big antennas all over the world, actually in 3 different sites, primarily. We do astronomy and physics, and we look at Earth science, etc. Okay, this is all what JPL does. At the end of the day, we produce hardware, we produce machines, and we start with satellites. Okay, this spacecraft are looking at the Earth, also our solar system and beyond. Some of these satellites have gone beyond, like Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. They were built at JPL. Now they're past our solar system, both of them, right? So we go from big satellites to small satellites like CubeSats. And then we actually decide, once we observed and we learn about these planets and moons and comets, then we decide, okay, let's go somewhere. And these are landers. All of these landers are in Mars. Okay, and then from landers, we say, you know what, let's move around so that we can learn a little bit more. So we're famous, JPL is very famous for their rovers. Okay, and we started with a very small one there. You can see at the center of those 2. Its name is Sojourner, and he landed in 1997. And then Spirit and Opportunity landed in 2004. That one is special to me because I started working at JPL right when they landed in January of 2004. So I will always remember them. It was a very exciting time, just like right now. Okay, and then we landed in 2012 a Curiosity rover. You will notice that this rover is very similar to the one we have launched for this Mars 2020 mission, and this is its name, Perseverance. Okay, so we go to Mars. Of everything that JPL does, we're known for our work at Mars. Okay. Past administrators of NASA have said, you know what, Mars matters. We have a journey to Mars, and it's going to take many, many years, but it kind of looks like this. We're sending a lot of spacecraft, different spacecraft to do different things. Eventually, we'll have a community there on Mars. I want you to see and kind of look at those pictures, because eventually this is what is going to happen. We will have humans on Mars. We will colonize the red planet, right? So what is it that we're doing today? Well, NASA has announced that we're going to go to the moon by 2024, and then we're going to go to Mars, right? So, and that's called the Artemis program. Okay, and that Artemis program is where we'll explore the moon, and then we'll go to Mars. And we're going to build all sorts of different things. So we're going to, work with other countries and other people, and we're going to go there. However, okay, something I want to mention to you is that it hasn't been easy to go to Mars. Okay, before this mission, our mission today, March 2020, or even before then, we were at 47% success, right? Of 43 attempts, right? We have only had 18 successes, right? That went a little bit better with the past missions that we have. Of total of 45, we have only landed successfully 19. So to go to Mars is very tough. And JPL has been very, very successful in landing and going to Mars. But at any rate, half the time we have not been successful. So to go to Mars is always challenging. It's very, very challenging. It's a difficult thing to do. Some people actually call it, it's a crazy thing to do. But we think is that the right kind of crazy. Okay. And JPL's motto is dare mighty things. And so we dared to go to Mars. We have been successful in our past missions, and we hope to be successful with this one, Mars 2020. We're countdown to Mars. And I love stories. And so I'm going to tell you a story, right? And this story is of perseverance, because we had to persevere. A mission like this takes about 8 years, to do. And we have been working on this for that long. And now we are a week away from landing on Mars. So that's my mission. The most important in all of these years that I have been at JPL, this is the one that I have been very close to. And I was very involved, especially in some new technologies that were developed specifically for this mission and for the place that we're going to land on, right? So we're taking a rover. This rover is the size of a Mini Coupe, Volkswagen, for instance. You see those little cars? That's the size. That's what the rover size is. We're taking a helicopter at the belly of this rover. And me as an engineer, right, I need to make sure that they get there to Mars. Okay. And the mission will seek for past life. It will also collect rock samples. Okay. It's going to put them on very secure and clean tubes so that we can go pick them up later. Okay. And today I'm working on a mission that actually is going to go pick them up in a few more years. And most importantly, and the thing that is more challenging and is very exciting to all of us, is that this mission is going to prepare for humans. It's taking some instruments that will create, for instance, oxygen out of the atmosphere of Mars. And we're going to also make some fuel so that we can launch from the red planet as well. And the whole mission has 4 aspects. Okay, it has a launch, it has a cruise approach, cruise and approach. It has the entry, descent, and landing. And then all of the science, all of the discoveries, everything that we're going to do on Mars is called surface mission. If the 3 phases before don't work, right? Well, we have nothing. We have no mission. And let me tell you something though. The entry, descent, and landing is called the 7 minutes of terror because it is very terrifying. I have not slept for days now. I'm getting up, thinking about the landing. Most of the failures in the past are related to the entry and the descent. Other countries have tried, other agencies have tried, and they fail in, specifically in some of these areas. So I'm going to be talking to you about this 7 minutes of terror because that's what I did for this mission. So July 30th of last year, okay, 2020, we had a successful launch. So phase 1 went very well. I hope that you were watching TV and you saw these live. You can see that the pictures that I'm including here say live there because they were actually taken from videos of that very day. Okay, so we go up and then some stuff comes off, and we separate the stages of the launch vehicle. And towards the very top, that's where our spacecraft is. Eventually that opens up, right? And that's our thing. This is our spacecraft. This is what I worked on. And this is the state that is flying right now. Right now we are in the second phase, which is called cruise, right? And it looks exactly like that. I would invite you to go and search for in the websites out there about how you can follow where Mars 2020 spacecraft is. And you will see something like this. There is an image there, and you'll be able to rotate it. You will see when it goes through, you can see the planets in the back. So we can actually see what it's doing right now, what it's doing today. Okay, so that's the cruise. That's the state that is flying out right now. As I said, you see the cylindrical part in the back. Then you see the capsule, which is called aeroshell. That cylinder in the back is called the cruise stage. And I actually work on that, getting new rockets for it. Okay, so that was a work that I enjoy doing. All right, so this is we get reports on a almost daily basis of the health, of our spacecraft. So you can see some of the numbers here. We're gonna travel for 292.5 million miles. That's how long the travel is going to be. Okay. So back then when I took this picture, it was 46 days to landing. Today we are 7 days to landing. So we're getting very, very close. So again, let me reiterate, it's very hard to fly to Mars, right? We already said that. And mainly because of the entry, descent, and landing phase of missions, okay? So what is this 7 minutes of terror, okay? It takes 7 minutes as soon as we enter the atmosphere of Mars to landing. And you see here several things that are going to happen, for us to be able to land the rover on Mars, okay? You will see different things happening here. We finally separated from the cruise stage, that's the cylindrical part, and the capsule continues on its way to the Mars atmosphere, right? And then you see how when we get to Mars, we're going to be going at about 12,000 plus miles an hour. We're going to be going really, really fast. So if you remember, or if you have tried this, actually don't try it, but if you have, for instance, when you get your hands out, out of the car, when the car is moving, if you twist your arms, you can see how the wind pushes you back, right? When you tilt your hands, pretty much what you're doing is you're doing air is, you have some drag, right? That is going to push your hands. And that's what we do right before we enter the atmosphere. We turn the spacecraft so that it can push us, it can stop us, so that we can get that velocity, to be less. So when we hit the atmosphere, even though it's less than here on Earth, it will still start burning, right? It will get at about 1600 degrees Fahrenheit. And we have a very special heat shield that I also worked on. I created the drawings for it. Okay, and then we will have a parachute and we can continue down. Why don't I show you a video? Okay, let me see how I'm going to do that. Let me see if I remember. Make sure that I so that it shows a little bit about that whole process. Can you see my web browser?
No, not your browser.
So the video is still not on?
No. We're
All right.
seeing your PowerPoint.
All right, so let me stop really quick and see some of your faces for one bit while I'm trying to set this up again. So I went to screen 2. All right, so I hope you can see this.
Yep, there it is.
All right, perfect. So can you still see it once I expand it?
Yes.
All right, so hopefully you have sound, very good sound, so that you can hear and see this. It's very short. So that's February 18, 2021.
Did you click on share sound?
Yes, I did.
Okay, okay. Oh, yes.
The cruise stage separated about 10 minutes before we get to the atmosphere of Mars. So we just experienced in about 1 minute what actually happens in 7 minutes. But you see all of that. You got to experience what it will look like. This is an animation. It's not actual video. But let me tell you something though about that. For this mission, we're going to have video, and I worked, and I actually work in. So we're going to go ahead and close that. Go back to. Can you see my presentation now?
Yes.
Oh yeah, perfect. So I work actually on the integration of the cameras that for the first time ever we're going to have during entry, descent, and landing. Okay, so we saw the separation of the cruise stage, we saw the parachute, we saw the flames, right, of the heat shield. As I said, that heat shield is very special. Nothing happens to the spacecraft because of that heat shield, right? We saw descending, we saw the sky crane, lowering the rover, putting it on the surface of Mars, right? And eventually successfully landing and touchdown on the surface of the red planet at crater G0. Okay, that will happen February 18, 12:55 p.m. There are all sorts of places you can watch, and I invite you all to watch it somehow. I know that some of you might be in school or something, but hopefully, it only takes 7 minutes, even though they're going to have a lot of introduction and explanations and things. But the actual touchdown will happen at 12:55, and it only takes 7 minutes. So hopefully, all of you will have a chance to see that. Now, speaking of Jezero crater, that's where we're going, right? So you see that circle. This site has been selected before as a place or considered for landing as a landing site in the past, but is so complex. The terrain is so complex in that area that we have decided not to go to Jezero crater. We have gone other places where the terrain is not as harsh, with few hazards, in the proximity of where we want it to be. So the science community and us and the humanity should be very excited about this place. Maybe you have heard before, maybe my colleagues have talked about this, before, but just very quickly, this area is called a delta, right? We believe that there was a river here and then kind of went into a lake, right? So we believe that a lot of information is there. So that's what we're selecting, but as I said, it's very complicated terrain. So new technologies have to be developed. But before I can get to that, let me tell you a little bit of what a mechanical design engineer does. So they told us, okay, there is a rover. This rover is this big. We wanted to do certain things. It's going to have this weight, and then we have a little helicopter as well. How do we take it all the way from Earth to Mars, right? So we start with the sketches, and then we start thinking what this, spacecraft should look like. Okay, we have a team. We have experts in different areas like thermal, right, for the heat problems. We have other experts on materials, experts that will let us know if parts will crack, right, or will bend, things like that. So we have all sorts of experts, and we get all together and we start looking at this. I go into my computer and I start working on my computer and start making some like a video game. That's what I tell my kids, that I go to work and play video games. I have this program out there that allows me to design, to actually make things, right? Start creating geometry that will end up being a part that then will become a machine, right? Eventually will become a spacecraft. At one point, I started creating blueprints. We call them drawings, mechanical drawings. At the end of the day, if you play Legos, or if you play any toy that comes with instructions, that's what I do. Part of a mechanical design engineer responsibility is to create the instructions for these things to be built, right? Once they gave me all of the requirements, I go there and I put it into the computer, my program, and I have to end up with drawings. And these drawings go to other experts, and they start the process of building, right? And you can see here some parts before, at the very beginning of the design process. We start building things, we start testing, checking if things are going to work, and little by little, they become a machine, right? We create one part, and then second part, and the fifth part, and we pull them all together, and it becomes a machine. So here you can see all of the stages of our spacecraft. At the very top is called the cruise stage. Right below it is the back shell. The back shell and the heat shell at the very bottom, the yellow part, right? Those they make a capsule, and they call aeroshell. Inside that capsule, we have the descent stage, which is the part in the very middle. I created most of those parts, and I created a lot of the drawings with instructions to build that descent stage. And right under the descent stage, we have the rover. Right under the rover, we have the helicopter in its belly, right? And I have other colleagues that help, build some other things, but my team designed and created the drawings for the very top cruise stage, the capsule, which is the aeroshell, and the middle part, which is the descent stage, right? All of those critical for entry, descent, and landing. So then we have final preparations, right? My colleagues and I looked into putting things into boxes and then sending them off to Florida, because that's where the launch site was, right? And then we have other partners that will create the actual launch vehicle, right? And you're not going to believe that, but our stuff is really big, but the launch vehicle is even bigger. You can see in this picture how big the top stage of the launch vehicle is in compared to our spacecraft there. So going back to Jet Zero crater, as I said, is very difficult to get there. Very difficult. I mean, it's already very difficult to land, just to descend and try to land, and then selecting a special place like Jet Zero. We had to develop new technologies. They call entry, descent, and landing new technologies. We have Medley 2. We have something called range trigger, terrain relative navigation, and the EDL cameras and microphone. We're going to be hearing the sounds of the descent phase, right, of our spacecraft. And I'll show you how all of those work, right? So we start at approximately minus 10 minutes, right, before entry, right? We take the cruise stage off. Then we lose some weights to tilt the aeroshell so that we can be stopped when we hit the atmosphere. Then we have Medley 2 kicks in, and Medley 2 is a set of sensors in the heat shield and the back shell, right? And they're going to help us with information that we can use to maneuver, to actually navigate, the capsule as it is descending. So that, when we go to hypersonic aero maneuvers there, right before the parachute launches, that was all Medley 2. Then we have this wrench trigger technology, and pretty much that what it does is we start sensing where we are, and if we think that we're going to hit our ellipse, right, that we want to land in, we won't deploy the parachute, right, because we're heading our target. So we'll just continue on going, and then eventually we're going to deploy the parachute. But if we're not getting to our target, then we will deploy a little bit earlier, make sure that we have some more time to adjust and to get to our target. So that's the range trigger. At that point, EDL cameras are recording everything we're doing. This is going to help in the future for the landing to understand, what is going on, and for humanity to see, right, how all of this is going to happen. The heat shield eventually gets ejected, okay, and then we have a radar that will start taking pictures of the surface of Mars, and then TRN kicks in, which is terrain relative navigation. And what it does, we have a map on board, and the computer is the radar is taking pictures. A computer compares the pictures to the map that we have on board, right? And it will make adjustments if it needs to. It will locate certain things on the surface, and it will know where it is. And then it will look for a safe area to land, right? So all of this 1, 2, 3, 4 technologies are new, and I was fortunate to work on all of them. you know, so you saw some of the drawings that I show you, that's where the sensors were located for TRN. Okay, you can see here on the left, you see a green ellipse there with a lot of red. Without TRN, you know, that technology, all of those red are hazards. And if we land there, most likely a rover is going to crash, right? So, but with this technology, the ellipse looks very green, right? Meaning there are not as much hazards in the area, and we will be able to successfully land without crashing. Okay, so we use a lander vision system with a radar, and I'll show you how that actually works. You can see here a picture of what it will look like. The radar, you know, start taking pictures and measurements, and it knows what it is and what it's looking at, right? And then it compares it to the map for it to make a decision. So here you see the little video there, right? So it is taking pictures, it compares it, and then if he needs to, he will divert to a safe spot. But we won't know that until, you know, we're descending and we take the pictures and we finally, you know, can see what, you know, what the surface looks like. Okay. So that's this story, right? And when we say perseverance, remember, it has been 8 years of work, right? And then last year we have a pandemic, and I know that you're feeling this too. I mean, you're not at school, right? You're being homeschooled. Most of you, I'm not certain what the situation is there, but if it is California, I'm thinking my kids are also here at home, and I'm working at home too. And even with a pandemic, we had to finish up and have, you know, our launch ready to go and everything. So that was a very, very difficult time, but we were able to work together and persevere, right? And make sure that things got completed. And so that, you know, the very day of the launch here in California, in the LA area, we had an earthquake. You know, it's already difficult to launch a mission, have the pandemic, and then the day of the launch, you know, we had an earthquake. At any rate, we were able to launch, and the launch was very successful. I am not alone. Okay, you might have seen this picture before. If one of my colleagues have talked to you guys, well, they were there in this picture, and this is the MSL team. There are thousands of them. Of the 7,000 that were there, you know, a great number of those 7,000 participated in this March 2020 mission. Is something that we do as a team, as a group. I was able to lead a team for EDL, mechanical design. You can see my picture there on the left. You cannot really see it, but that's where I'm at in this picture. And it was very happy. You know, 6 years. I wasn't there at the very beginning. For the past 6 years, it has been a thrill, you know, to work on this mission. Very happy for the successful launch, for the successful cruise, you know, phase as well. And now we're just waiting. We're 1 week away from the launch. I enjoy working at JPL. I get to do and see incredible things and do mighty things. Right? You can see this magazine there on the left. It says, when you were a kid, science fiction gave you a sense of wonder. Now you feel the same just by going to work. And that happens to me. Right? It was a dream come true to work for NASA, to work for JPL. We do wonderful things, and hopefully you continue on school and continue to do what you're doing, right? You do your homework and you keep in school, and, you know, elementary, middle school, high school, college. You have to go to college, and then, you know, maybe then we will recruit you, right? We need Mars explorers. Mars explorers are wanted. So hopefully some of you guys will end up helping us on this thing to go to Mars. So with this, I give it back to Andres and Olga, and see if we have some questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Luis Velasco. Yeah, we have a few minutes for just a couple of questions. Thank you for an amazing presentation and sharing with us the cool work that you do for us at NASA. I have one quick question. Luis, can you share with all the little ones and their parents and teachers and administrators who are with us, where you're from? Just a little bit of your story.
Sure. So I was born in Mexico, actually in the state that borders with Guatemala. So I'm really from that south of that country. I lived there until I was 17. Then I left and came to the US to learn the language. Eventually, I went to college here in the US, Brigham Young University in Utah. So my parents still lived in Mexico, both of them. All of my family is still there. I speak Spanish. I visit, sometimes. It wasn't easy, but I had a dream and I kept on working. People laughed at me when I told them, that I wanted to work for NASA one day. And that pretty much gave me fuel, gave me the courage to continue on my studies, going to college and seeking and looking for an opportunity at NASA. So now I have been there for 17 plus years. And I'll tell you one more thing too. I'm not the only international, if you will, employee at JPL. We have many, and from Mexico and from Latin America, we have plenty of them. If not in the thousands, definitely in the hundreds. I actually had a picture. I was going to put it on my presentation, and I forgot to do that. But yeah, there are many of us, and for what I understand, for the landing of March 2020, there is a Spanish channel. So if you have family or friends that only speak Spanish, make sure that you tell them to look for the Spanish transmission of the landing, and that will be available.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Martinez, can you and Mr. Natividad now choose a couple of questions?
Yes. One is Janelli. She's asking, are there any plans to go to Venus also?
That's not my area of expertise. I don't know if Andres can actually help us with that, but at least from JPL perspective, I don't see anything in the books. I don't see any maybe satellites,
Yeah.
going that way, but not a spacecraft like a lander or a rover.
Yep. So we are interested. We don't have any missions planned right now, but the industry, the private companies, there's interest that I'm hearing for at least 2 companies. So yes, Venus is also lately Venus is becoming also a planet that there's interest in learning more about.
Let's see, there was another question regarding, will the suits will be like the moon suits that the astronauts use, or will they be different?
I'm thinking that they will be very similar, at least the way they look. They will be similar. They might have different technologies that will be needed for Mars, and the radiation differences between the moon and Mars, but I think they will look the same.
Yes, that's a really good question. So they will look the same, but as we know, technology has really come a long way. And yes, they will have a lot more instrumentation and sensors, so that we can also make sure that they're safe in whatever they do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, maybe one more.
Okay. There was one question about the oxygen. How was that going to be, which I believe that would be a long answer, right? Is there oxygen in Mars, and what type of technology is being used to be able to survive in Mars, or will be used?
So this mission, Mars 2020, is taking an instrument called MOXIE. It is on board the rover, okay? And this instrument, a specific task is to create oxygen from the atmosphere of Mars. So that is a proof of concept, right? We're going to learn if it actually works or not. And that's one way, right? That's one way that we are proposing we make the oxygen that we need when we go there. Taking oxygen from here might not be a possibility. So we have to learn to use the resources on Mars to create oxygen.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Mr. Natividad, can you we're now going to thank Mr. Luis Velasco. Everyone, once again, please, a virtual round of applause. I know that all of us enjoy this talk. Mr. Velasco is working on some amazing technology and some really, really cool missions. So he's a good friend of mine. We have worked together in the past, and we're gonna continue working on some bigger projects together. I'm really proud of all the work that Luis does for us. So once again,
What happened if the ships broke?
we didn't do that.
Ava, they went over 100.
We can mute everyone again. Everyone,
They
please
went
remember
over
the
100 questions.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your participation.
Remember, next week we have a couple more presenters, a couple more talks, and then we're going to be with Mr. Luis Velasco and his team together watching Perseverance, the Mars 2020 rover and the Ingenuity helicopter arrive at the surface of Mars. We can't miss it, right? So all of you come back next week. We have 3 events. And remember, do well in school, because as Mr. Luis Velasco shared, we need Mars explorers. We need you to do well in school so you can come and help us, okay? We need a lot of you to come and help us, but you have to do well in school. You have to listen to your parents. You have to be good community citizens, okay? So you can come in and join our amazing team. We can't wait to have you with us. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good day. Once again, thank you, Luis. Really appreciate. Thank you.